All, we are going to discuss the basics of irrigation in today's lecture. The contents of today's presentation are irrigation, need for irrigation, present status of irrigation, developmental aspects of irrigation, direct and indirect benefits of irrigation, and finally the disadvantages of irrigation. Now comes the definition of irrigation. Irrigation is the artificial application of water to the soil in order to grow the crop profitably. Irrigation water is generally applied when there is no rainfall or deficit rainfall. And the main concerns in irrigation is when to apply, how much to apply, and how to apply. So these three things are very important when you decide or schedule an irrigation to plants. Irrigation is used to assist the growing of crops in dry areas and during period of inadequate rainfall. Now comes the need for irrigation. As we know, India is basically an agricultural country. All its resources are depend on agriculture. The second thing is that water is evidently and most vital element in plant life. Yes, because in all the stages plant need water for its growth. Usually water is supplied to the plants by nature through rain, but sometimes the total rainfall in a particular area may be insufficient or ill-timed. So in order to prevent that condition and to improve the quality of the crop, there comes a need for the irrigation. There is an irrigation system called systematic irrigation system, which involves collecting the water during the period of excess rainfall and releasing it to the crop when it is being needed. Now we will broadly discuss the need for the irrigation. The first thing is because of less rainfall. So if an area receives less rainfall, artificial supply is necessary. That is, the irrigation is necessary. Second thing is that irrigation work or construction may be constructed at a place where more rainfall is available, and then it has to be conveyed to the water where there is a less rainfall. That is the access to the deplete area. The second point is on non-uniform rainfall. As we know, the rainfall may not be uniform over the crop period in a particular area. Maybe rain may be available during the starting period of the crop, but no water may be available at the end, which may result in yield loss or the crop may be die. If you want to prevent this condition, no irrigation is needed. Third point, there is a need of additional water for the commercial crops. Yes, rainfall may be sufficient or adequate to raise the usual crops or any staple crops, but more water may be necessary for raising commercial or cash crops. Example, sugarcane, tea, tobacco, cotton, etc. Fourth point, there is a need for controlled water supply. So the yield of the crop as well as the quality of the crop can be increased by construction of proper water distribution system. Now we will discuss the present status of irrigation in our country. In the middle of 20th century, the advent of diesel as well as the electric motors had increased the pumping rate of groundwater out of major aquifers, so the rate was faster than it was being recharged. This has led to the permanent loss of aquifer capacity. It decreased the water quality and caused many problems related to the groundwater. Now comes the developmental aspects of irrigation. Irrigation is practiced to maintain the different developmental parameters, and those parameters are to make up the soil moisture deficit, that is to reduce the soil moisture deficit, then to ensure a proper and sustained growth of crops, then to make harvest safe, that is to reduce the harvest loss, to colonize the cultivable wasteland for horizontal expansion of cultivation, and to shift from seasonal cultivation, to promote more intensive cultivation by doing multiple cropping practices. to improve the level of agricultural productivity by acting as an agent for adaptation of modern technologies, to lessen or reduce the regional and size-based class inequalities in agriculture productivity that will reduce in turn the socio-economic imbalance among the people. Here comes the direct and indirect benefits of irrigation. Irrigation development has played a key role in strengthening economy because irrigation is applying water for the benefit of the crop. So directly you are producing crops which will influence our Indian economy. If you have more grain production, it will give more profit to strengthen our economy so that the employable opportunity will increase because when the crop production is more. It will further drive the rural people into the agro business and definitely the employability opportunity will rise. Irrigation development provide self-sufficiency in production because if you supply enough water to the crops, they will provide more yield and cause more food production. And another benefits of irrigation are being able to grow crops where nothing would grow otherwise. For example, if you have lot of water, you can grow crops even in desert areas. More profitable crops can be grown. For example, if you are cultivating alfalfa, which is a fodder crop which requires a lot of water. Instead, the same water can be used to grow a more profitable crop like wheat. Irrigation can increase the yield as well as the quality of the crop since you are not making any water stress condition. The quality and the yield of the crop will improve. Irrigation increase the aesthetic value of the landscape. If you have lot of water, then you can use it for landscaping and definitely that improves the aesthetic value of that area. Other benefits of irrigation are leaching of salts. If you have problem with salts in soil, you can irrigate the soil to leach out the salts from that soil. Then wind erosion can be controlled by irrigating the soil surface. It will make the ground wet and the wind cannot blow the soil particle. Then multiple cropping during the year is possible with irrigation. You can grow 2 to 3 types of crops in an year. See, the irrigation increases the employability opportunity as we discussed and reduces the risk of crop failures because you are not growing crops under water stress condition. So definitely that will improve the crop condition and reduces the crop failures. Then irrigation also improves the socio-economic condition by increasing the rural population income generation and hence increases the socio-economic status of that particular locality. Now we'll see the indirect benefits of irrigation. It increase the gross domestic product of our country, increase the revenue, increase the employable opportunities, land value, higher wages to farm laborers, etc. General development of other sectors and development of the country which are depend upon agricultural producers as a primary raw material. It increases the food production, yes, and modify the soil or climatic condition. It reduces the catastrophic damage which are being caused by drought. It increases the income and the national cash flow by increasing the agricultural productivity and the employable opportunity. Increase in labor employment, increase in the standard of living of our people, increase in the value of the agricultural land, self-sufficiency will be achieved, improve in communication and navigation facilities through irrigation canals, the domestic and industrial water supply will be there, improve in groundwater storage through recharge, finally there will be a generation of hydroelectric power. The disadvantages of irrigation is that excess irrigation is going to decrease the crop yield because if you put lot of water, the crop root will get submerged continuously and the water itself will act as an oxygen barrier so that the roots cannot take any oxygen into the soil and thereby definitely reducing the crop yield because of oxygen stressed condition. Then the chemicals such as pesticides, fertilizer, herbicides and salts that can be leached into the groundwater or to the nearby surface water areas. Then yield reduction can happen if you have deficit irrigation. Not only the excess irrigation, but even if you reduce the irrigation also called as a deficit irrigation, it is definitely going to reduce the yield. Then excess irrigation causes waterlogging and salinity problem. For example, in a field ponded with water on the surface, it does not allow any oxygen to enter into the soil, creating an unfavorable condition for the plant growth. If you take the states of India like Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, and Rajasthan, they withdraw groundwater more than they recharge. It is an alarming situation for the groundwater table is depleting deeper into the soil. Over irrigation also causes outbreak of diseases like malaria. Thank you all.